Very successful ride minus one casualty. It accidentally fell out of my hand and shattered when it hit the sidewalk. Awesome. So the other day when I was on a bike ride, I absentmindedly put my bike computer onto my seat while I was doing something, and I dropped it and shattered the screen. See that show up there very well. And so then I was kind of stuck in a pickle because I needed a bike computer and I didn't have one. This is a Wahoo Roam version 1, and it served me really well. I called up Wahoo to see if it was within warranty, and of course it wasn't because of what had happened, but they were willing to offer me a 40% discounted coupon on a new bike computer so that I could put it towards a Bolt or another Roam 1 or a Roam 2. And of course, when I started looking at the Roam 2, my eyes started getting bigger and bigger, even though it was more expensive. But since I got the 40% off, it turned a $400 item into about $250. And then when I account into other discounts and cash on my credit cards, it really knocked it down to about $100. So I can't really complain about the price there. So I went ahead and got one, a Roam 2. Now I am just an average normal bike rider. I don't use my Wahoos to train. I don't use them for racing or anything like that. I use them because the screen is large. It interfaces with the tool I use to create my maps called Ride with GPS. It's really easy to use and it's very intuitive. So I like Wahoos and I like the Roams. Now I was a little on the fence with should I get the V2, but then I decided to go ahead and buy one and just compare. Now even though the screen's destroyed, I can still see all the readouts on everything, so it's easy to kind of compare how the two things look. So here's the main screen right here, and you can go back to another page right here. And for me, the fonts on the version 2 just pop out so much better than the fonts on the version 1. It's easier for me to read. Now, don't get me wrong. If I hadn't cracked these screens, I would have kept the V1 and been just fine and dandy with it. So don't feel like the version 1 is crap compared to the version 2 because it's not. I only got the version 2 because of the situation I was in. Now, another thing that I really like about the version 2 is the maps. When you are on the maps, the colors, the version 2 has more colors to use than the version 1. So when you're on rides, especially with turn by turn, the colors that they use to highlight the turns and the street names really jumps out on the screen. It's undeniable that this is so much clearer than the version 1. So for me, that was totally worth the price upgrade. The other interesting little differences between these two is that the version 2's buttons are a little easier to press because they're raised as opposed to recessed. And again, this is just a little quality of life thing, a very minute quality of life increase. Because again, if I didn't shatter this screen, I'd still be using this computer and I'd be totally fine with it. This has more memory in it. I don't really know how that applies to me. I put the maps on here that I want. I never have any space issues whatsoever with the original version, so I don't know, maybe the 32 gigabytes of space help with the colors and whatnot. Not really sure. Functionally wise, these are exactly the same. They do exactly the same thing. They show the same screens. You can customize them the same way. Everything's the same. The one mechanical difference is that this uses multiple satellites for its GPS tracking, whereas this one I think only uses one. And that can be a problem. It has been for me in the past where it was cloudy outside. This thing couldn't pick up a satellite at all. I haven't had any problems with this thing picking up satellites whatsoever. In fact, it hooks up to the satellites really fast, so that's pretty nice. Okay, let's go on outside. Okay, so I'm hoping that despite the cracked screen, you can still see the differences between the V2 and V1 displays. When it comes to turn-by-turn directions, the font of the V2 is just better, and the contrast of the green color of the V2 versus the black and white of the V1, along with the use of the upper and lower cases, make the text on the V2 just easier to read. Now, don't get me wrong, had I not cracked the V1 screen, I'd still be using it, but this gave me an opportunity to try the V2 and actually see the differences in the presentation up close. Now at this point, on the top of the display, the V2 highlights a park as well as a blue trail. The V1 does not show that. Those sorts of little details make a difference to me. Alright, so I understand that there are countless other videos that dive much deeper into the differences of these two computers. But what I covered is what's important to my experience. So what's the recommendation here? Well, don't drop your bike computer. But if you must, you can't lose with either the V2 or the V1, but the V2 is just a little nicer and easier to see. But that's my opinion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.